Welcome to a new episode. We are live. Yeah, yesterday I also tried to live stream and continue building the Facebook and implementing the. We stopped at implementing the React query and the GraphQL code generator, so we could generate out of our GraphQL queries. Also the types first of all, and also the hooks for like query hooks and the mutations as well. And I needed some time to basically read through the documentations because it was a lot, and came up with a nice solution, or with a solution that is dynamic, and I can show you what I did, but it's actually pretty cool. So what I used is I basically used a React query plugin from GraphQL code generator, and since we're using React query, obviously from TenStack, I use this library, and they right here, for example, that they recommend using client preset, and I also tried that out, but I didn't liked it the way it was structured and the way it generated the types. I don't want to discuss this in length. What is not, like, you can try it out on your own if you want, because it takes a lot of time to like dive into it. That's why I just use this this plugin, and I have a basic configuration. I already code some implemented like register mutation, and because I wanted to try it out if it works, and I can go through with you through this code. So what I basically implemented is this Codegen configuration file, TypeScript file, where I define my schema. That's the backend that is running here, and documents, which points to the GraphQL operations or documents that we basically use for writing queries and mutations, which is in here under GraphQL operations, and then you have queries, mutations, and here I wrote a register mutation and also a login mutation. And that basically I could also make it precise and say documents are in source, in utils, in GraphQL, inside of GraphQL folder, operations. Those are my operations or documents that we want to basically generate. And so it generates basically two files, one of which is hooks generated TS, which is under source utils GraphQL generated here, and that is generated by GraphQL code generator, and it generates us, if I go down, generates us like hooks, and in this hook use mutation is used, and use mutation is basically imported from TenStack React query. So under the hood, this GraphQL generator, or this plugin, TypeScript React query, enables us to generate React query mutations, React query clients. And what I also did is I implemented a custom fetcher, not a custom fetcher, but we use, instead of a default fetcher, which is fetch for GraphQL code generator, we use GraphQL request, which is a GraphQL client basically. And this is because it's recommended by in this documentation by GraphQL code generator. So that's why I used it. And yeah, basically set some suffixes for document variables, fragment variable, and type suffix, and we expose keys and expose like query and mutation keys for handling caching, because this is the way how you handle caching and get cache data from the cache and so on. And then we generate a schema.graphql, which is an like overall general schema from our server. It's basically a schema est, and this will be generated in the root of our project, which is here, already generated it. And that's basically generates the schema and puts everything like our entire schema inside of like one file. And this is useful for like writing queries and knowing what we can write here. And suggests us basically for your ID it introspects the schema, and you can write queries, and it knows like in which environment you are and in which what schema with what schema you're working with. Exactly. So that's what I did, and it works actually nicely. What I was confused at like one point where I had two clients. One which is, if I go to pages and layout here, let me close the other ones. Why it is complaining? Oh, because we accidentally overwrite this. Okay, let me close other tabs. So where I was confused was like we have a query client, which is which comes from React query, and this query client provider needs to be also wrapped up like around our application. And this is basically, this client is responsible for querying cache, like getting data from the cache, and like basically GraphQL React query specific things. And this client, which I wrapped up around the query client provider, is a GraphQL client which comes from GraphQL request, and this is what we use for communicating with the server. And why two clients and why I don't use only query client is because this client is needed in order to make requests, because this is the way how the TypeScript React query plugin of GraphQL code generator is set up and structured. So it generates us, if we go to hooks.generated.ts, you can see, if we go to, that's like one example of like mutation, which is like for registering. And if we go to fetcher, it actually takes a client. You can already see it here. So this actually takes a GraphQL client. So this is generated all. So it takes a client, which is a GraphQL client, and this comes from the GraphQL request library. So that is why we are using basically two clients here. And I was a bit confused, and I was like, okay, like what is? Am I doing something wrong or something? But it all worked out in the end. And yesterday I spent a lot of time on working on it and setting it up. But now it's set up, and I'm basically running the application here. We need to also find a way where, since this page, I turned this layout page like as a client side rendering, or implemented like client side rendering. We can't export the metadata, and the title and description information like metadata is gone. We need to find a way how we implement it on the client side, but that's right now it's not priority like SEO. All right, so if I go to auth page, you can see we have login form, we have sign up form. By the way, I'm going to push everything into GitHub and make it public, I think. And you can guys go through the code and also copy paste and work with it, because through video I understand it's hard to keep track of the code and also write rewrite the same code. You can also copy paste it and just try it out. So yeah, I'm gonna push the code into GitHub. If you guys are interested, you can comment it. But yeah. Failed. Let me write here. Failed to login error, and then we have a response. Boom, boom. All right. Let's remove then because we use await. And let me log this out exactly. So registering worked actually. Here, by the way, I'm running backend. And here we are running nothing. I opened the Docker. Okay. Exactly. Let's basically try out if it works. The sign up. Now I think it should throw an error, which says a user does already exist or something. So if we sign up, it says email already taken. Response errors, message email already taken, blah 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 blah. That's because we already registered this user, and the password of it is for this user is 126. And if I go to already login, we write the password and then try to log in. Let's see if it works. I actually haven't tested login functionality yet, but let's see. Okay, I got a response. Yep, we got the token back, which is nice. And from here we can actually work. Login, response, is it typed? Yeah, that is so nice. That is so nice. Okay, so that's the basically the JWT token that we get. And this we store into local storage, okay? And for that, I also want to use it as state, like as a local storage, like as a state, because if we can check for authentication this way, we can say, okay, if the token exists in local storage, then you are authenticated, and we can basically make basically check if the user is authenticated in this way. So for that, I want to use, there is a nice library which is called Zustand, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's actually German, but in English like Zustand or something. So it's called Zustand. And what it essentially does is it is a state management package which synchronizes your the local storage or session storage in your browser with your state. And it's actually pretty dope because you don't have to write all the like local storage code for like storing data into local storage and getting it and blah blah. It actually syncs with your synchronizes with your state basically, and it's pretty nice. And try it out if you didn't know that. We can basically install this, and so let's say add Zustand. what we want to do is we want to create a Zustand library or state library, or we can say actually directory Zustand, and here we say what's that we want to, it can be a global store like global state, or we can simply say token. We can say token, right? Or auth. We can say auth, and there we can store authentication like state, yeah, such as tokens or maybe users as well, like a user. So let's say auth, and inside of here let's go to here and say, by the way, there is a TypeScript usage here, and we can copy paste this. We need a interface. Interface. Oh man, I can't spell interface. Auth state, and then we say token, which is string, or it can be also null, I believe, or it can't be null. No, it can be null. Exactly. Now we want to create store, sorry. Inside of this, I think we need to pass the, we can basically type this first and say auth state, and then here we have, nope, it's not how it works. There is a state. Okay, yeah, then we can use DevTools to basically develop with it and see, like, debug it. Then you have this persist middleware. They call it middleware, where you define your states as a first argument. You have default states. Exactly, you define default like initial values for your state, and this is the name as a second option is the name of this local storage, I believe. Yeah, so the name of the, if I go to application and to local storage, so the key, let's say the key of local storage, or of a value, of an entry, or of a row in a local storage, that's the name, I think. But we can try it out. Let's basically use this, or copy paste this inside of here. Now it says blah blah blah. Oh yeah, because the state is not, it should be token already. We have a token. By the way, is it executed in a client, on the client side, or on the server side? That's my question right now. Use context. Oh, we need a provider, of course. I mean, that's a. Oh, no, that's the context. Blah blah. Let me see. Okay, this is how they're using it. So they create a store. Oh, it should be create. Let me see the TypeScript. No, it should be create, not create store. That's my fault. Sorry. It should be create. And if we go here, this can be null. a store. Of course, we need to instantiate it first. Okay, I just can't copy paste stuff. Yeah, this is how it works, and by default it should be null. We could also set this to, I don't know if, though this is not a good idea. No, it already synchronizes to, yeah, no, we don't have to, yeah, we don't have to, no, it doesn't make sense. I was thinking of like writing local storage, like writing like local storage, blah blah blah, and like get items. So by default, so that it is by default the synchronized version of the token from the from local storage, but it already takes care of it. So yeah, we say token or we say auth store. We can name this auth.store. Let's use our app name here, clone Facebook clone.auth.store or .auth is a good name, I think. All right, so we have so we need to export. Let me see how they're doing it. Use, okay, that's use beer store, so use auth store. This is how we do it, okay? And that needs to be exported, and this can be used in a component, right? So if I go to login, if I go to here, if I go to, if I want to get something, token, we need a function that sets the token, set token. It takes a string, returns a like void. Of course, we need to write a name, token. That's a token, and then we say set, and then we say the name, I think token, and then as a second argument, or no, I think we need to pass an object, yeah, exactly, and then we say token. Cool. Great. Let's see it in action. Facebook clone auth. As you can see, it's null, and as you can see now, like it is already created like a synchronized our state, the Zustand state with the local storage, and created this entry here, Facebook-clone.auth, which I exactly said, and it also appended a version property here. So which version that is, it tracks like what state version that is, and it has a state property, and inside of the state property we have it stores the the token or our defined states here inside of the Zustand, the inside of the create function, which is nice. And now what we want to do is we want to set token to set token here like this, and we need to say or if it's not null or if it's not undefined, then set token to this. And if I log in again, I think it was Gio something like this, and the password was 12346 and if I log in, we can see I will don't log out it here, but I will log this out in the layout. No, obviously we want to push this to a dashboard as well, or to the home feed inside of here. So if token exists, it sets the token and it pushes const router, use router, and it also of course pushes onto slash exactly, and the slash page is our home feed, right? So that is nice. This is a promise, which is nice. And let's say if, yeah, exactly. We don't need to wait for this, but yeah, we can just call then in order to prevent it to like give us warnings. Okay. Okay. So it basically sets the token, pushes us to slash page, and what we also want to check is, first let's test that. Already have an account. Oh, what? What is happening right now? Use router. Use router is next row. Okay, because that's huh? Next router was mounted. What does it mean? Isn't it how you import it? No, that's correct. Okay, let me quickly go to this error message. So the app directory uses next navigation, has different behavior to the use router hook. Sure. If used in a test mock, if you used in an app directory, migrate to new hooks imported. Alright, let's see how this works. But do we have use router here as well, or something else? Oh, we have use router as well. Should work then, I guess. Otherwise we can dive into the documentation. No, it works. And if we now enter gmail.com, And if we say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then add login. Oh, failed to log in, type error. Cannot read properties of undefined reading then. Okay, that's good. It's not a promise anymore. It is not a promise from the, if you import it from the navigation. That's why it basically failed. But the request worked, and I guess the token is also stored in the local storage, which is nice. Let me quickly add in our dashboard page, let me add a logout button, primary button, and say log out. What it does is on click, it sets token to null. Or we can also go to auth.ts and add logout and says white, and here we say set token null. Exactly. And here we say use auth store. Inside of here, from here we can import logout and then call this whenever logout button gets clicked, right? And this logout function sets token to null, which basically re-renders this page. And here we can check if token exists. If token exists, if it doesn't exist, can we do router push off? We need from navigation router. I don't know if it can be executed like this, and yeah. If we now delete the authentication state here like this. Oh, I just removed everything, but that's cool. Yeah, it created the token, default token value. If I go to already exists and add write gmail.com and in here our password and then log in, use ref only works in client components. Use client, it's not a problem. Nice. So as you can see, we are in the home feed. Or we also can say if I now log out, it basically sent us back to the off page. If I go to /page now, manually, like from the URL field in the browser, then it should redirect me again to off page again. So this is how we protect our routes. But I don't like that it's too slow. Oh, let me see. Yeah. What we could do is we could say if we could actually create something like private route component that does this basically. And of course it takes children as props. Children React node sorry, it's an object. Children React node. Inside of here we can get children and say if this, else you can return children. If token exists, we can return children, and if it doesn't exist, you can return div. Or we can say if it doesn't exist, we can say this, return we can also put a spinner here, like render spinner, and if it exists, then just return the children. And we can make this private. And now if I go in here, as you can see, we don't see anything. We could also see like a spinner as well. We could implement the spinner, but this is how it now works. And it's good because the user doesn't see the actual UI, which is on the feed. So this can be reused for our private routes. So that's like a general private route component that will be wrapped up every time if we want to make a page private. So this is how it works. We don't need token anymore. We have main, blah blah blah. Page. We also want to say, we also want to make the auth page. So whenever we say export auth, I mean we can say it here directly. We don't need a component for it. We can say use auth store, of course invoke token. If it does not exist, or if it exists, then you basically return maybe like a spinner again. And in here we are pushing or navigating the user navigation, and in here we are navigating user pushing to the slash page, right? Oh. So if we are actually, so we are not authenticated, but if we authenticate or like log in and do Gmail 12346 login, you can see we have a token, we are logged in, and if we want to go to auth, but we see the page. If token exists, then return div. Off. We still see the page, but why? I guess we need to did not expect server contain blah blah blah. I guess we need to fetch the user. So each time when we navigate through the pages, we need to fetch the user if it already does not exist. If it exists, then one way is to basically fetch the user, obviously. So if token close my Mac again. So one way is to say if token exists and if token exists and user, which we'll create here, user object. Let me import it from the hooks and say either it's user or it's null. And here we say initially it's set to null. Exactly. So by the way, oh, that's cool. We say if token exists and user does not exist, then we want to fetch the user, and therefore we want to write a get user or a user query inside of our server. But let me already write down to do fetch user. And if user exists, if we fetch the user and user exists, then we to do set user. If user already exists, else. So if token exists, but else if token does not exist, then that's cool as well. We only want to check the case where token exists and user does not exist. Then we want to refetch the user. Exactly. Otherwise we check if user let me quickly write a query for it, right? Let me open Backend. Let me go to user schema. We already have a schema. We already have a user. What user also has is first name. It has last name. Oh, we don't write commas here. Last name, which is a string. It has, if I go to auth, it has first name, last name, birth date. Let me copy this. Yep. So those are the properties of the user, and we are getting the user. We have a user resolver inside of here, and we get the user from here. Okay. Exactly. So here we need a payload. That's actually an authenticated route, or the resolver needs to be the user needs to be authenticated in order to access this route. What we say here is we have in context, we have our data source user, get user by ID or by email. I would say by ID, and inside of here we pass, we don't need to pass anything because it will use the JWT sub already. Yeah. Try, oh, you need to. User, await, found user, if like this. Let me log out the user, found user inside of here, and we can actually, let's give it a try and test. Localhost 4000. If we go to queries, we already queries, and then user, we need to introspect. We don't only have this property. We have more properties. We just add up more properties here. Why it can't introspect? That's weird. Let me also generate the types actually, but that nothing has to do with Apollo having because it generated types. Because it generates the I don't know. It's just introspected right now. Yeah, it worked. So let's add all of them. Query those, but we need the token as well. We need to add the token in the header so that it can actually. That's the token that we have for the user, and we need to actually get the user that we just created. So if we save and then user, you can see we got the user. So the user query works, which is nice. And what we do now is, of course, go to the front end and quickly stop the development server and generate new types and new hooks and new queries. And if I go to generated hooks generated, we can see, we need to write, obviously. First, we need to write the operation, which is a query operation, GraphQL file, user, and then we say query user, right? Inside of here we have user, and we basically query each field or every field. Sorry, email, ID, blah blah blah, gender. Yeah, we have everything. Nice. If I generate again, we should see inside of the generated hooks, we should see user query, and now we can fetch the user. By the way, What's that? What the heck? Okay. Why did it generate it? Okay, that's weird. It generates this weird request in it, but we already request this, blah blah. That's so weird. Let me see. Types.dom. It generates because of this query here. That's very weird. But let me delete the user query and generate again. Okay, now it does not generate. That's so weird. Because of this query or what? Why? If it would be a mutation, oh, it's going to, of course, complain. Oh, that's so weird now. Yeah, sometimes like there are like errors. Yeah, let me just, that it should be a single comment. Oh yeah, it has to be. Now it works. Okay. Yeah, okay, I think now it works. And now we can go to auth page. Inside of here, we can say use, oh sorry, use user query. We need the client, of course. Use GraphQL client. And then do we have like, no variables. We need a header. We need to set the header. Oh, now we have another issue. We need to set the header for use GraphQL client. Where are we? No, I think we need to go to GraphQL client provider. Instead of here, we are instantiating this. And here we can add the headers, exactly. And here we need authorization header. Authorization. And we have a bearer. No, that's the question, right? We need to have some sort of, we need to be able to set the headers of the client from the outside of the world, outside world. So if I go to this context, this context has a type, which is GraphQL client. But we can say now interface GraphQL client context, or simply context. And here say we have a client. And then we have also headers. By the way, why aren't we using oh no, That's cool. And then we say set headers. That's a function inside of here, or set token set auth header. This is what we can implement. It takes a token inside of here. It takes a token, of course, and it sets now I realized that we actually want to create a oh no. Set get oh yeah, okay. No, let me see. Now the question is, now let me the question is, can we set client set headers? Oh yep, we can. So what we could do is, we could do in the layouts page, we could obviously have use effect, inside of here, of course, const. Oh no, we can't, because that's the provider. We need to. Oh yeah, we need to default and say root layout providers. Oh, we say just const, and in here as a prop we have children. That's a functional component which has children props, React Node. Inside of here we just wrap up child, boom, and all of the play providers inside of here, boom, and then we say boom, oh no, that's actually not how we want it. Children, no, that's actually not how we want it though. Oh yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, wrap up, and then we can say, yeah, inside of here, of course, const GraphQL client context or use GraphQL client, exactly, and then we have client, and then we say use effect, because the point was like we can't use context. Use client, let me rename this to context, otherwise I'm confused. We can't use GraphQL client context if we would have the provider wrapped up here inside of the component, because this is being used before the actual provider being initialized. So, and since provider is, oh no, that's actually not true, because here the context provider is not initialized as well. We need to put this inside of this, and we need this to move up here actually. Yeah, this is how it works. Okay, yeah, so now client provider is initialized. Let's say app here, and we can also take this. Actually, we can leave this and say use effect and say if, right, if user exists. Actually, we can fetch the user here if the token exists. Yeah, we can fetch the user here, but that's, yeah, a lot of, yeah. Yeah, I need to do a break, and I think I'm gonna eat now, and then I will continue working on that. But yeah, it's, as you can see, a bit complicated, and it's not a usual stuff or tutorials that you watch on YouTube. It's more like on depth, and sometimes I'm also not sure like what's the best approach, what's the best thing to do. But this is part of being a developer and part of solving problems and working on large applications. So I hope I can give you I'm giving you a feeling how programmers are really working. And stay tuned, and I will be live in like, I guess 40 minutes or something. Yep. All right. See you.